So I've got a couple of Commodore 60 series calculators here. This is an N60 and this is an M55. Now the N60 is working, the M55 isn't. It's had a lot of battery corrosion on it, so I've completely dismantled it and I'm powering it off a power supply together with the N60 so that I can compare signals, and I found a problem around the area of the VF supply, which I think is the fluorescent display supply. So I took the little module off, this thing here, and checked all the components and they were fine, so I wasn't too sure what was going on. The display was just all segments on and a bit flickery. So I had another look round and found that on the PCB just here, where the battery had corroded the PCB, there was a broken track, so I bridged that, and now I am getting a display that makes a bit more sense. There's a 0 there and there's a few digits occasionally, but it's extremely ghosty. So I suspect it's either dirt on the board or, and I think this is probably more likely, under the main chip there's some more corrosion, and the main chip is here. Now I think that's still working. There's corrosion in the corner here, but to get to it I think I'm going to have to take the chip out, so I think that's the next step. So we've got an improvement and there is some life in it, I think. It responds to the keyboard and you type a digit and you sometimes you get that digit. So yeah, I don't think resoldering the joints on the top is going to be enough, and I think there's corrosion underneath the chip, because that is the worst part of the board. The power supply, the battery comes onto the board here in this corner, and that's exactly where the where the main chip is, so I think I'm going to take that off. Hopefully I don't destroy it, and we'll see what sort of mess is underneath there. Right, so I got the main chip out, there it is, and there is quite a lot of corrosion underneath. I don't know if this is actually going to be the problem. I may have to clean the entire board, but at least I can get in there, clean that out and then resolder it. So we'll see. As a record, I got that out with old-fashioned solder pump and just getting each pin free so that you could lift the whole chip out. This is the M55, so I replaced the track that's broken here, and I've taken the keyboard out of the case, disconnected the batteries. I'm running off a DC power supply. On the back I've cleaned it up, and here there was a label which held the batteries in, and that seemed to have become conductive. I also found that if you don't put the plastic it's a sort of spacer or a plastic layer, the insulator of the buttons, then it doesn't work very well unless you turn it upside down. So I've sorted that out. At the moment it now comes up, there's a 0 there, but I get a bit of flashing and none of the keys are working at the moment. I mean, it registers the keys. The dash on the left hand side, which is appearing occasionally there, that's the calculation dash, but at the moment I don't seem to have any actual functions working. I have had key presses register, but it's definitely in a better state than it was. Not really sure why I've got nothing. There's something up with the keyboard, I think. The scanning isn't right. Yeah, numbers aren't registering, but it's definitely not dead. I've also put the main chip in a socket, so that'll be easier to get out. I did take it out, cleaned it up, and just tried to tidy things up. I've also replaced some capacitors here. One of them was faulty. There was an electrolytic capacitor here that was faulty. I think that's about all I've done apart from a bit of cleaning. There's definitely something strange about the keyboard at the moment though, because that was working better. I have managed to get some digits out of it, and Yeah, it's on the way to working. Can't quite work out why the keyboard's not working at the moment, but it's not as dead as I thought it was, which is good. So it's on the way back to life. So I've taken the keyboard off because the connector had some battery corrosion running up a couple of the wires, and I've checked the keyboard PCB, which has now got nothing on it at all, and I had some high resistance between some of the tracks, and I narrowed that down to some flux, I think it was, on the top of the keyboard. So I'm hoping that'll be the last problem, because I have managed to use the calculator occasionally, but it seems to start to fail in the keyboard scanning after it's been on for a while. So even though I've managed to get pi out of it and type some digits in, it generally sort of gets away from itself and stops working. So I'm going to put some new wires on. I've got some ribbon cable here. I'm going to put that on, at least temporarily, and see whether we've improved things. Everything else seems to be working, so hopefully that was the last problem. I've replaced all the electrolytics on here with new ones. One of them wasn't looking very good, the others seemed fine, so I don't think that was a problem. The broken track wire seemed to be the main problem, and just general mess, flux on the back. I've taken diodes off from here and I've put those on the back. I may leave them there, I may put them on the front, put them back where they were. So let's see how it goes with the keyboard. Right, so I've put on ribbon cable onto the clean PCB, and you can see there it's powered up, and it seems to be working. So there's 10 digits. Put the exponent on, 1, 2, plus or minus. Store that into memory 4. Clear it. Recall from memory 4. And there we go. Get pi. And there's pi. So that seems to be working quite nicely. There's a little bit of ghosting on the display. I'll fill it up with 8s. So there's a little bit of ghosting over on the exponent digit there, but let's try the yeah, so the N60 seems to be fine on that, but I think that is fine compared to what it used to be like. That's considerably better. So what I might do is clean up the original keyboard connector and put it back on, but I don't know if I'll bother with that, to be honest. I think as it's got some mess on there anyway, I think I'll put this back together again. I think as well I might just run it off the AC adapter. I might leave the batteries out because they're just going to cause problems again in the future. I'm pretty sure it works. I've got an AC adapter here. Got the 708. It does say in the manual that you can run it off the adapter, but well, we'll try it. Let's see what happens. Turn that supply off. Put the AC adapter in. That powers up fine. I don't know, I'm undecided on that as to whether to put some batteries in there or not. I might do, and then check it occasionally, just to make sure we haven't got any leakage. At least that way it's a portable device again. But seems to be fixed. That's pretty good. Quite pleased with that. I thought that was a dead one. The Commodore M55 Mathematician back together again, and it's got main chip in a socket. It's got a new ribbon cable to the keyboard, and the track that was broken on the display, that's been fixed, and it's all back together again. It's had a very good clean, which turned out to be the final problem, and if I turn it on, you can see that it's now working. As far as I can tell, it's now working perfectly. There's pi, and speed of light. It's got quite a lot of interesting features. It's got complex arithmetic. You can also do decimal to octal. So if I put 24 in and convert that to octal, 30, which is correct. And that's quite unusual for older calculators. They tend not to have any base conversion. So that's actually quite useful, because you can almost convert that in your head to hex. So yeah, quite nice. And the nice thing about this calculator is that it came with some packaging. It also came with the handbook. So this is the M55 owner's manual, and it came with its original box. So that is actually a very complete 60 series Commodore. It goes with my others. I've got a N60 here, which I'm running off the Commodore power supply, because the batteries for this are now in the Mathematician. I was running that off batteries just to make it a bit easier so I could try the functions out. So this has got more keys. It's 55 keys here, 60 keys here. And interestingly, they've moved the cancel entry and cancel key from there to there. You can see on the Mathematician, bottom left on the Mathematician, almost middle top right on the N60, so that's a bit strange. And a lot of other functions are in different places as well. There is sine, cos and tan on here, but it's here, and on the Mathematician it's here. I've also got, so I've got the full set now, I've also got a S61, the statistical calculator, and that also works. That's got, well, apparently one more key, but there's a slide switch here, so it's not really a button. And that's got a very similar layout to the N60, the cancels here. Sine, cos and tan, of course, are in a different place altogether, rather than being here or on the Mathematician here. They've actually put it down here. So the key layout is completely different on the three calculators. But see if I can get them all in view there. There we go. Complete set. And they are very nice calculators. And they're all working. There we go. Cancel in the different positions. There's random numbers on a couple of them as well. The I think it's the statistical calculator's got a random number generator, which is here, so I can do a function random 15707, and interestingly on the Mathematician exactly the same number, and they generate the same sequence because they're based off the same seed and algorithm. So there we go, fixed. These two I also had to fix them, and it turned out to be dirt again. The final problem on the Mathematician was just dirt on the keyboard. I was getting a few mega ohms between tracks, which was enough to muck up the keyboard scanning and the display. And these two here, they had the same problem. So I may go back and revisit these and do a deep clean, I suppose, because this one I fixed with a resistor, which is why it's got a dimmer display to these two. This one's very nice. I think I just cleaned that up a bit, and it had a bit of ghosting on the display. Same with this. This had heavy ghosting. But yeah, the keyboard is very nice on this one. There's a bit rubbed off on the top there, and it's not quite as nice here. There's a few bits on the green that are rubbed off, and here it's quite nice, but I need to clean the keyboard. Interestingly, there's green uppercase functions here, silver ones there, and gold ones there, so they are really completely different calculators as far as I can see. There doesn't seem to be a lot of commonality in the functions or anything else. The mouldings look to be basically the same, I think. And I think they are interchangeable, but it looks like they've done a different Commodore font there to this one, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. Let's turn them off and have a look at the serial numbers and so on the back. So these are all made in England. Okay, 10,000 serial numbers there and an 8,000 there, but I think they made less of these. They are very similar, different part numbers for all of them. But yeah, M55, N61, it's rubbing off, sorry, S61, N60. There we go, that one's lost its feet unfortunately. That's a minor inconvenience, and I don't have boxes or manuals for these two. This is the only one I've got the full set for. But yeah, I'm very pleased with that. I've been looking for one of these for years, and when a broken one came up I just went for it. Fortunately it was fixable. It does need a bit of a clean. There's a bit of dirt in the display there. I have to get in there and clean that. I don't know if I'm going to put batteries in there permanently. I may just run them off the adapter, which I think is safe. It does say in the manual you can run it off the adapter, but I don't think they'd anticipated someone taking the batteries out when they did that. So yeah, I don't really want any leakage in there, and I might remove the battery packs from these just to make sure. Although they are very nice to use, so it's quite nice having a battery in there. Especially this one, because I don't do a lot of navigation. I don't do a lot of statistics either, but the maths functions on here look quite useful, the conversions between miles and kilometres and so on. Very useful. One thing I did notice was in the manual that I got online, it had the gallon to litre conversion as a American value, and I'm pretty sure when I did the conversion on the calculator itself it was the UK gallon, so that does imply that there are two different calculators or different firmware. Let's have a look. No, it's a gallon to US, so it does seem to be US gallons to litres, which is odd because I thought it was I thought 1 gallon in litres, so that's 4.54 litres. I thought that was a UK gallon. Maybe it isn't. So the conversion factor they've got here is 3.78. So that's a bit strange. So I should be able to put 3.78 litres to an inverse gallons to litres, and that's 0.8 gallons. If I put 4.54 inverse gallons to litres, I get 1, or close to. So 1 litre, if I do the conversion the other way, so that's giving me 0.21996 as a conversion factor, and here it's 0.264. So I don't think this manual is actually reflecting what the calculator's doing. So it does look like there's two versions of the firmware, or maybe there's a jumper inside. I didn't notice one. One for UK gallons and one for US gallons. Let's try fluid. Let's try pounds to kilograms, because so 1 pound to kilogram, use that there, that's 2.204622622, which is exactly what the manual says, but the gallons conversion does not match up. That means that looks like there's another one of those to collect. I think that may not actually come up for several years. The interesting thing is this is a UK calculator. It was bought in the UK, so that would make sense that it's got the UK gallons. It doesn't say anything on the back. Maybe the part number's different. 201317-3. Maybe there's, yeah, they're all -3, I think. Maybe there's another part number. Okay, well, there we go. Line them up. The full set.